Travis, my good soul. Joseph Smith Sr., speaking on Jewish mysticism, writes this: "But behold, the Jews were a stiff-necked people, and they despised the words of plainness, and killed the prophets, and sought for things they could not understand. Wherefore, because of their blindness, which blindness came by looking beyond the mark, they must needs fall. For God hath taken away his plainness from them, and delivered unto them many things which they cannot understand, because they desired it. And because they desired it, God hath done it, that they may stumble." And you're going, where did Joseph Smith Sr. write that? Jacob chapter 4. If you're not going to do your own research, if you don't know how to do research, Joseph Smith Sr. was in Vermont. What religion was he a part of? Yes, he was a part of a religion. Which religion? There's a female author that came out not too many years ago who published a book saying Joseph Smith Sr. was a drunken bum and a disgrace to his family. And if it weren't for Lucy Mack, the family would have fallen apart. Well, she's a sexist. She's also wrong. Joseph Smith Sr. did try to maintain a job. It's not his fault. The volcanic eruption, the summer without a summer, that's not his fault. He didn't cause the volcanic eruption so that he can get out of producing an income for his family. But this is what haters do. They blame victims. But the religion was the New Israelites. They're Congregationalists. Do you know anything about the Congregationalists? Of course you don't, because the church will not acknowledge that Smiths were a part of that group, that religion. Especially the New Israelites. And if you are familiar with the Cowderies, likewise being Congregationalists, in regards to Ethan Smith view of the Hebrews, that would be the religion. The Smiths were a part of that too. Because before Ethan Smith arrived, after the Smiths had moved to Palmyra, there was the New Israelites and the wood scrape. And so this is where Joseph Smith and William Cowdery learned Jewish mysticism and the tree of life. But you're still going, what? No, Joseph Smith translated the Book of Mormon by the gift and power of God. Or if you're ex-Mormon, no, Joseph Smith wrote the Book of Mormon. Junior. With a rock and a hat. Seriously? You want to create something you cannot understand to explain Joseph Smith? You seriously believe that he looked in a hat and dictated the Book of Mormon? Is that easier for you to believe than that senior who is experienced and knowledgeable on all the subject matter that's in here wrote it instead to fix the error that Junior did by giving away the 116 pages? So these are just some of the examples that both Mormons and ex-Mormons fall into the trap of. You look for things you can't understand to justify your position, your conclusions. So the first vision, Mormons say that, well, it's Jesus who came to Joseph Smith and said, other Christian churches are bad. You need to create the one true Christian church of Jesus Christ. And that's the name. I didn't even know that the church was originally called the Church of Christ. In quotes, Church of Christ. No Jesus, no Latter-day Saints. It was voted by the leadership to change the name to the Church of Latter-day Saints. That's weird. No Jesus, no Christ. Why Latter-day Saints? After, it was 1836, wasn't it? See, I found that when I was doing a obtaining of the documents of Joseph Smith. God. Yeah, Church of Latter-day Saints. 1834. 2 years before the Kirtland Temple. That's curious. But yeah, the leaders voted to change the name to the Church of Latter-day Saints. The Danites that were in the church, hiding in plain sight, not letting it be known that they were Danites yet, who were secretly going around building up their army to overthrow the church. They were the ones that wanted to put Jesus in. So I did those videos for him. And so, for Mormons, is it easier for you to believe that Jesus Christ, who was made real by Constantine, so that the Gospels were apocalyptic literature, now they're literal history Gospels, the good news, Jesus is real, but the Mormon Jesus is the real Jesus? Is that easier for you to believe? That he came from outer space in a pillar of light to Joseph Smith? With his father, who's a separate personage that is supposed to be physical and thus supposed to follow the laws of physics, but comes from outer space without a spacesuit, without a spacecraft, in a pillar of light from outer space. That's easier for you to understand? Oh, we just got started in this video. So why then is Joseph Smith referring to the Christ as Amen? Where is he getting Amen from? You know, he refers to the personage, doesn't call him Jesus. He refers to him as brighter than the sun at noonday. Just like Nephi, not Moroni. Are you going to believe Joseph, or are you going to believe the current church that says Joseph is wrong? That turned the church's name to Jesus, who is Amen. Which is easier for you to understand? Because if you believe that Jesus came to Joseph Smith, then yes, Nephi, appearing to Joseph Smith, giving him gold plates. Oh, well, that's not understandable. Those are heavy. So we're going to change them to golden. Now we can understand. You're changing the text. Joseph Smith said gold. Why are you creating something else that Joseph did not say? Again, you're saying Joseph Smith is wrong. Does that make it easier for you to understand? That Joseph Smith is wrong? He's lying to us? He's mistaken? He doesn't know what he's talking about? He doesn't know the name of the people that came to see him? He couldn't identify the personage as Jesus? What's going on? What's easier to understand? And if you're unfamiliar with the Doctrine and Covenants being encoded, the names and places and things coded. In particular, the rod of Aaron of Oliver Cowdery. Where did he get the rod of Aaron? What's going on with that? Was that used to help write the Book of Mormon? Joseph Smith used his rock and a hat, and Oliver Cowdery used his rod of Aaron. Is that easier to understand? Why didn't they write that? Where did they get these things from? New Israelites. Justice Winchell joined the organization and taught them how to divine. But it was Senior and William, not the kids. So guess who taught the kids? And so did Joseph Smith Sr. and William Cowdery spend their entire lives trying to take care of the family, looking at rocks in a hat and their magic wands? Oh no, obviously. Have you never been a parent? What do you do to kids to keep them entertained and away from you? You teach them little fun tricks. And Joseph ended up getting arrested for it. Because it's a trick that was scary to certain people back then. Of course, Joseph was now 21 and an adult. He was no longer a kid. So, took it a little bit too far. But again, which is easier to understand? That Joseph Smith used magic and witchcraft? Or that it was a kid's game taught to him by his father of the New Israelites when Justice Winchell joined the group? Which is easier to understand? A deity that is so superior to us, so supernatural, which supernatural means not real, that we can't comprehend it because it doesn't exist, it's not real. Or a real Christ who is mortal and has mortal parents. What? You've never heard of that? Well, the Christians name call previous religions to them, even Jews, as pagan. Jews, they just hated because they blamed the Jews for murdering their non-real Christ, who was not historical, but made historical. They created a lie and then justified the lie to punish those who had nothing to do with anything. Jews didn't murder any Christ. They actually stood behind Christ, trying to save themselves from the Romans. But all the Christs, and thus the Jews, were slaughtered by the Romans. That's the real history. And so Christians created the conflict against the Jews. Go figure. So what are Mormons doing about the Jews? Oh, nothing? So when Easter comes around, we ignore the Passover? When Joseph Smith does a whole bunch of stuff pertaining to Jewish holy days? Just a coincidence. Kirtland Temple. It was on Easter, but it was also Passover. So what happened in the Kirtland Temple on that day? Moses, Elijah. Those are pertaining to the Jewish Passover, not Easter. But Jesus did come too. So what's going on? Is it easier to believe that all these things were literal history, that they were real? Or is there something going on that may involve what they did to the Doctrine and Covenants? You know, encode names of people and places and things, which is easier to believe. And so then we get the Book of Mormon version of chief cornerstone within the cornerstone. The stumbling of the Jews, they will reject the stone upon which they might build and have safe foundation. Do you understand what rejection means? It's not that the cornerstone was put in and the Jews are just in denial. Rejection is not denial. They rejected it, which means they did not put in the stone, the chief, or the, well, it is chief cornerstone. There is no chief cornerstone of the cornerstone. It's the chief cornerstone. It is the cornerstone. They rejected it. They did not put it in for their foundation. Thus they stumbled. Thus, they're looking for things beyond the mark that they can't understand. And so, according to the scriptures, how did I know? This stone that was rejected shall become great. It's not the cornerstone. And the last stone to be placed in the building of what's being built. And it's the same as the cornerstone that they should have built upon, because it's the only sure foundation upon which the Jews can build. And so there's something else going on. There's a cornerstone that the Jews rejected that somebody else is using as the foundation cornerstone. And that stone that was rejected by the Jews will become the head of the corner. Not the chief cornerstone of the cornerstone, because it's the last stone to be placed. Where is the last stone to be placed when you're building up? On top. It's the capstone. This is not hard. This doesn't even involve translation, unless you go to the original Greek document for the New Testament. And then the Hebrew one also has their version. It's cornerstone rejected. Somebody else uses a cornerstone. The completed project is the capstone, just like a pyramid. Pyramid, huh? Why would Joseph think about pyramids? Why get involved with Egyptian? That's pagan. They're false, therefore. Why is Joseph involved in Egyptian religion? With the head god, Amen, the sun at noonday. What's all that about? That's obviously false. It's Jesus. That's easier to not understand. Alrighty. Let's now go to Matthew 13 for fun stuff. I think we first start with 10 to 17. Now remember, Jews sought for things they could not understand and created a stumbling block. So the disciples come to Jesus and say, "Why do you speak to them in parables? Because they're dumb." He answered and said unto them, "Because it is given unto you to know the mysteries of the kingdom of heaven, but to them it is not given." Remember when I keep repeating sacred secret in my videos? Sacred and secret are the same word. They come from the same root. And it's referring to something that is holy, sacred, holy, set apart from regular stuff in the world. Regular stuff in the world is not wicked, therefore. Objects, I mean, they're God. And so a table that you use for your regular cooking, working, whatever, for the temple or religious services and rituals where sacrament, bread and wine, water is used on, well, now it's set apart from use of regular work in the world and is now specifically set apart only for sacred rituals. That's the root for sacred. Don't get weird and idolatrous. So mysteries is associated with secrets, with the definition. But I just told you it came from sacred, that which is set apart because of rituals. And before the temples were destroyed, rituals were held in the temples. And so mysteries are the sacred rituals performed in the temples. What are those mysteries? Initiatories. You are initiated in the temples. We call it initiatories in the church. And it's the washing and anointing. King, high priest, Melchizedek, Melchizedek, Amen. Universal symbol of the sun. M is the high priest symbol from Egyptian. N is the king symbol from Egyptian. The sun at noonday, Melchizedek, Amen. Thus, Melchizedek was used in place of the name of Amen to avoid the too frequent repetition of the name, and is the name of our church, the name of our Christ. Not the sun god. Don't go into things you can't understand. That's his name. And so Samson, that's translated as Sun King. Very simple stuff. Don't look beyond the mark. And so mysterion is the Greek word from which mysteries comes from, and that's somebody who's initiated in the temple rituals. Simple. So people claim that there's nothing about the temple in the Book of Mormon. I just showed you where it is, right there in the very beginning. We'll come back to Matthew 13. Verse 1, 1 Nephi chapter 1. I, Nephi, having been born of goodly parents, therefore I was taught somewhat in all the learning of my father, who learned from the new Israelites. And having seen many afflictions in the course of my days, nevertheless, having been highly favored of the Lord in all my days, having great knowledge of the goodness and mysteries of God, therefore I make a record of the proceedings of my days. And yet it wasn't him, it was the Father speaking for the Son. Transubstantiation. We say that angels speak on behalf of Jesus. Or Jesus speaks on behalf of the Father. Nope! Father speaks on behalf of the Son. Hilarious. Alrighty. And so, for whosoever hath, to him shall it be given, and he shall have more abundance. But whosoever hath not, from him shall be taken away, even as he hath. Therefore I speak unto them in parables, because they, seeing, see not, hearing, hear not, neither do they understand. And in them is fulfilled the prophecy of Isaiah, that's Isaiah, which saith, By hearing ye shall hear, and shall not understand, and seeing ye shall see, and shall not perceive. And they put the footnote on here, didn't they? No, you're not even referencing Isaiah. Guys, oh my God, oh my God. I don't see it anywhere in the vicinity even. I see Jeremiah. But at least Matthew used Isaiah's name here instead of leaving him out, saying that Ammon's name is supposed to be the reverse of Isaiah. So the prophet Isaiah prophesied of the future Christ whose name is the reverse of Isaiah. That's not what he says. What are you adding to his prophecy, Matthew? For the people's heart is waxed gross, and their ears are dull of hearing. We should have fixed this. We did, Matthew. Let me check. We'll just make this a long video for you. Screw time. This is going to get low views anyway. Alright, so Matthew 13, verse 14. La da 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 da, nightmare from hell. Da, da, da. LDS scriptures. No demons, click on the world, click on English, click on Espanol. Wait for buffering. There we go. Mateo. What's going on? Church site is having problems today. Capítulo 13. And yep, they use the I. Oh, man, they didn't. Guys, we did all that work for you just to ignore us? Thank you. They did. But apparently, they moved the footnote. Oh, God. So it's under here. Whoops. Stop. Go away. Oido. The oido oires. But yeah, it's corrected to have Isaiah 6, 9 through 10. The prophecy of Isaiah. That's what I put. I was given Matthew first, and then we got it again to double check when we were doing the You guys don't care. You don't care how I've influenced your lives and how the church rejected a lot of the stuff. I wanted to put Peter as seer, referencing the Joseph Smith translation. Nope. We've got ancient language experts at BYU who are in charge of this. Yeah, well, they seek for things they don't understand. It's a perfect opportunity to show Mormons that Joseph Smith is a translator. As well as I was the one who put in the footnotes to change it in Psalm and in Matthew, cornerstone, capstone. Me, and they said, nope. And so Nelson comes out, oops. I try to help you guys, you just don't care, you don't want to believe, and the church keeps digging a deeper quicksand pit. We're getting to that. That's here in 13 also. Alright, where did we leave off? For this people's heart is waxed gross, and their ears are dull of hearing, and their eyes they have closed. See, they don't care about the truth. And so Jesus speaks in parables, because they understand the objects being referred to in parables. Oh, yeah, soil. Yeah, I'm a farmer. I've done that work before. I know what a farm is. I know what wheat is. Yeah, tares, yeah, I know. Yep, oh, he speaks the truth. Wheat and tares, oh, yeah, oh. And it's sort of like Nelson, in response to the whistleblower for Ensign Peak Advisors for tithing, came out and said, Parable of the Talents. We're just following the Parable of the Talents. Nelson's heart is waxed gross, his ears are dull of hearing, his eyes has he closed. He seeks for things he does not understand, and he spread it to Mormons. For blessed are your eyes, for they see, and your ears, for they hear. For verily I say unto you, that many prophets and righteous men have desired to see those things which ye see, and have not seen them, and to hear those things which ye hear, and have not heard them. Hear ye therefore a parable of the sower. Ye disciples who see and hear, I'll give you a parable because you don't see and hear. Oh yeah, you're smarter than them. Let me give you a parable. Hilarious. Wow, this Jesus guy is hilarious. Alright, let's go back up to verse 3. And so he spake unto them in parables. The sower went forth to sow. And when he sowed, some seeds fell by the wayside, and the fowls came and devoured them up. Some fell on stony places, where they had not much earth. And forthwith they sprung up, because they had no deepness of earth. And when the sun at noonday shined upon them, they were scorched, because they had no root. They withered away. Some fell among thorns. The thorns sprung up and choked them. But other fell into good ground, and brought forth fruit, some 100-fold, some 60-fold, some 30-fold. Who hath ears to hear, let him hear. David gone. He would pull that stunt on us. We'd go over a passage of Scripture, And he'd then quote that, "Who has ears to hear, let them hear," or ears that hear shall see, whatever. As if he was winking to us, as if we understood special knowledge about that particular passage. And he didn't. It was wrong. He's the reason why in your Spanish edition we still have homosexuality for the fall of Sodom. We are not supposed to put in our personal opinions, David. It's homosexuality. No, it's not. We're supposed to reference scriptures where there are scriptures. And there is a scripture in Ezekiel 17, or 16. Yeah, 16. 17 is the parable of the Mormon who's going to be born in America. But you don't care. You'd rather believe in Jesus. Alright. So, to reveal the mysteries of the kingdom for you, missionary work. Getting converts into the church. That's one understanding of it. And so yes, it's you, and are you going to have good soil or thorny soil or stony soil, or are you the wayside? But that's why it also applies to missionary work. So if you go around on your mission and you tell them that you're Christian, that Jesus appeared to Joseph Smith, well, guess what you're doing? You're lying to them. And so you're either putting up stones for the word seed that you're giving to them, which will cause a stumbling block for them when they decide to join the church. Other times it's the wayside, and yeah, they don't believe and don't join. Or they join, but did it because they thought you were an attractive young man, and they joined the church for you, only to find out that there are no real Mormon men to have a relationship with. So you contact a guy from the UK, and you go out to the UK and live with him, and then you're murdered by him. Wayside. A sad tragedy of a Mormon convert girl. That just happened in the news recently. But that's case in point. She didn't join the church because of the gospel. She joined to find a relationship. She didn't find it, so she got on social media dating sites, found the guy in the UK, and moved out there. The Canadian girl. It's sad and tragic, but that's an example of the wayside. She had no interest in anything religious. And so the rocks and the thorns. We'll get to the wheat and tares, obviously, later. And so, Mormons, born and raised in the covenant, same thing. Instead of the seed being the word, the seed is actual seed from your father, planted into the soil of your mother. And so, are your parents, which are they in this parable? Are they wayside Mormons, stony Mormons, thorny Mormons, or good soil Mormons? No, that is not the meaning of my name. It's not God's hill, even. But it's close, it's half right. And bend the sole for the central tan, sun scorching them. But you guys aren't interested. You don't want to care. You want to believe in Jesus. Heaven forbid the truth be boring. Reality is so boring. Travis just tells us jokes that aren't funny because it's always about scriptures. Boring. We want supernatural stuff. Jesus coming from outer space, getting zapped by a ray gun in Rapturepalooza. That's far more entertaining. Or Catholic priests using a cross to dispel evil. The power of Christ compels ye. Does it? Does it? Doesn't seem to. Oh, Schwarzenegger. Yeah. I saw a news thing this morning about how his kid had to be rushed out of school when the news broke about his infidelity with the maid. So again, and so look recently, Mormons, we're seeing consequences of the church. The church under Brigham Young was racist, sexist, bigoted, hateful of the poor. He manipulated the poor only for the sole purpose of increasing his numbers for the church to go up against the United States of America and destroy it and conquer it with the kingdom of Deseret. He was a very wicked, bad man. And so he was the stone, he was the thorn. And so Mormons, brought up under Brigham Young, have bits and pieces of seed quotes from Joseph Smith, but the church is stony and thorny. And so Mormons grow up among the stones and thorns of Brigham Young. And so the rising generation with the Mormons who knew about 1978, see, the rising generation don't know anything about that. They're the children of us. And so they don't understand. And it's kept a sacred secret. It's like it came out in 1978 and the church said, we're done. We're no longer racist. Move on. No, we still have the stones and thorns in the church. We who live through it know all about that. But the rising generation are not taught about it. And so the professors from KUTV2's interview last night, they don't understand that Brigham Young said God's the racist. It's his law. But the church won't come out and say that, because it means that God changed his position. That now we're going to restore the priesthood to blacks. Well, it was restored under Joseph Smith. What are you doing? What are you saying, Kimball? Through Eldon Tanner. And so the youth of the noble birthright of this generation, the rising generation, are shocked. And they're outraged. But their focus is on Brad Wilcox, not the church, from which Brad Wilcox, of the older generation than mine, but still the generation that knows all about this, say, yeah, Brigham Young's a racist. But the church came out and said everybody who's worthy and full tithe payer can be priesthood holder and go through the temple. The younger generation knows nothing of that. We don't teach it to our youth. I don't teach it to my youth because their mother took them away from me. Illegally, but the United States didn't do nothing to stop her. And Utah obviously didn't do nothing to stop her. And family helped her. Everybody helped her. So she got away with it. And so my kids, using the same parable, were given stones and thorns about me. And so for them, I've been choked out of their life, scorched out of their life. See, I haven't been scorched, I haven't been choked. I have, but that's the church has done that to me. And so this is we're getting to that one, wheat and the tares. See, I was wheat on good soil because I was converted out of the church. And the church came and spread the tares among me. So we're getting to that. So do you see how this works? Do you see how the higher level learning is supposed to be applied here? That it's not about, oh yeah, you don't want to plant in rocks unless it's a specific seed that thrives in rocks. And you don't want to plant in water unless it's a seed that thrives in water. There are always exceptions. And you get a knucklehead in Elders Quorum who raises his hand and says, there are seed plants that grow in the dark. You dumbass, put your hand down. Shut up. So, yeah. Yes, it was a personal experience. It was a younger singles ward. I was asked to teach because there was no other one to teach, and so I'll teach. Not hard. We all serve missions. We know exactly how to teach. Verse 24. Another parable to the dumb. The kingdom of heaven is likened unto a man which soweth good seed in his field. You do understand that even though I joke about dumb, I'm actually teaching you the mysteries. I'm not treating you as dumb as much as you think that, because you're going, hey, I believe in Jesus. What are you doing insulting me? How dare you? So, the kingdom of heaven likened unto a man which soweth good seed in his field. Born and raised Mormon, Joseph Smith was taught to me. I sought out the words of Joseph Smith. As I explained inasmuch as you have done it unto me, Mormons, you've done it unto Joseph Smith. You are the children of the Mormons who murdered Joseph, and you're murdering me. Same thing. But anyway, that's a different parable. And so, yeah, Joseph Smith is good seed. I've produced the fruit from it. Why haven't Mormons? Why haven't ex-Mormons? Oh, well, ex-Mormons left the church because they didn't produce the fruit of it. They believed the thorns that were spread among them. See how this works? If you believe that all Freemasonry is evil, and that knowing that the Smiths were involved in Freemasonry, therefore the Smiths are evil, you've looked for things you can't understand. You do not know what's going on. You do not know why Egyptian gold plates were used for Nephi talking to Joseph. And a book about the latter days. Because you know nothing of the Knights Templar, of the York Rites, which Smith Sr. and Hiram were a part of. Friday the 13th, Holy Grail, the bloodline. Not the God line, the bloodline. The seed of Messiah. But if you're going to believe in only one Jesus as the Christ, you're looking beyond the mark. You will not understand that there were lots of Christs trying to save the Jews from the Roman Empire. and all the kings of Israel and Judah, up to King David of the 18th dynasty, David Moses, pharaonic dynasty of Egypt. They were all Christ. But if you do not accept that, if you call it all heathen and disregard it and reject the stone of your founding, so while the man slept, enemy came and sown tares among the wheat and went his way. Yeah, that's an enemy, all right. Purposely trying to destroy a person's crop. Wheat is used for your life. You need food to eat. And you have to buy other things than just wheat. You can't do everything all at once. So, the economy that was set up, well, you grow an abundance of wheat beyond what you need. You sell the rest. The money you get from the sale, unless it's a barter system where you trade wheat for other things you need, but regardless, yeah, that's how you do it. Everybody got to be their own boss. And if you work for somebody else, you are their slave unless they provide you with enough income for you to become your own boss once you learn a skill or a trade. But, you know, people like slavery, I guess. But anyway, wheat is the rich grain. Barley is the poor man's grain. So that needs to be understood. This is the rich, the elect. So the elect planted in good soil, not stony or thorny. And tares are sown in by Brigham Young. And Brigham Young went his way. See, the United States shut down Brigham Young's operation under John Taylor the year he died. It ended. The Church of Brigham Young ended. The United States ended it. It ceased to exist. If you thought there was priesthood authority with him, and you don't believe in Section 121, amen to the authority of that man, it ended with the United States. The church refuses to acknowledge this. Why? Well, their authority depends on it. They have none. The tares that Brigham Young sowed among Joseph Smith's wheat choked the wheat and it died. Ceased to exist. There needs to be a restoration, a capstone of the latter days to restore the cornerstone of Joseph Smith that was rejected by the Mormons. So the servants of the householder came and said unto him, Sir, didst not thou sow good seed in thy field? Enemy hath done this. Gather them up. No, 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 no. They look the same until they're ready for harvest. So let them grow up together. And then when it's harvest time, then you can gather the wheat from the tares, bundle the tares to be burned. Why do you burn the tares? Tares have seed. And at harvest time, the winds blow the seed out into the fields and they get planted, and then pretty soon you have a whole earth with the tare virus. And nothing is able to grow as a result. So you burn the seed to prevent any further growth. You have to. Your life depends on it. And then you have the wheat. And then there's the wheat and the chaff also involved. And that's where you purge the Mormons. No. See, the chaff now becomes the tares. And it's just in a different format for you. You have to separate the wheat from the chaff. You don't want chaff in your bread. Yeah. So you separate the wheat from the chaff. But here it's wheat from the tares. And so you got to wait until the latter days until the tares reveal themselves. And that's what the youth is recognizing now. The tares in the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints, Brad Wilcox, he's been teaching at BYU. He's involved with youth. This isn't the first time he's done this. As the news is coming up, oh, he said other things in his past. Yeah, this is consistent for him because he's Mormon. He allowed the tares to choke him and became a racist, sexist, bigot, just like the church, the enemy who spread the tares among the Mormons. And the youth are not catching on to this yet because they don't know their scriptures yet. And they aren't likely to, because the word is the seed. And if you allow the church to dictate what you learn, that's rocks and thorns. And Mormons end up with stumbling blocks. They end up having all these questions for their CES director. Right, sure, Jeremy. You didn't copy those from Gerald and Sandra Tanner or the other website. They're your own, right? You had sincere questions, right? Sure, Jeremy. Whatever. But yeah, that's, the church won't answer anybody's questions. They sabotage us. They put us in thorns and rocks, spread the tares, and then leave us to ourselves. And the survival of the fittest, as long as you aren't the good guy who believes Joseph Smith is a translator. Otherwise, they destroy you. Because that's what the church is doing. This is the harvest time they're doing. If you hadn't paid attention, this is the latter days. What's for the latter days? The separation from the wheat and the tares. What is the church doing? Separating the wheat from the tares. But the problem is the church wants the tares. They think that the tares are the wheat. They're deceiving us. They're murdering, literally murdering, harming, hurting the wheat. As all the youth, the rising generation, are now hurt because of the prophets trying to separate the wheat from the tares in the church. And so all the youth. And what is it better that a millstone be hung around a person's neck than to offend one of these my little ones? And it's talking in context about new converts, but the youth of the church are like the new converts. They're just of a different seed. Instead of missionary work seed, it's parents in the church who give birth to the kids through man seed. And so Mormons, likewise, are growing up in the church. Just because you're born in the church doesn't mean you're automatically wheat and you're in good soil. Church ruined that for us. So we have to recognize it and remove the rocks and the tares and the thorns that the church has made a stumbling block for us. And the church doesn't like that. They will retaliate. They will destroy your life. And eventually shut down the internet, as I got other problems in the mail yesterday. They've destroyed me. There's nothing I can do about it. If I knew I could survive and have my internet for at least 2 more months, yeah, I'd go do a rush on Amazon putting out a whole bunch of books. Paleo-Hebrew stuff is my most popular, so I would put a rush on Paleo-Hebrew books, go into the vocabulary, etc., to try to get back to making enough money to pay for rent. But it takes 2 months, and so the money that I'm getting this month I won't see until April. For this month, it's December. For next month, it's January. It's already happened. I'm getting this month and it's firm, it's set. I can't add to it anymore. And so I can't do that. I can't pull myself up by my own bootstraps. I've been sabotaged by the enemy. The enemy hath done this to me. And they've taunted me. I've gone over that with you. The billboard's still up. And the threat. The main source of my income. I told you, they were threatening me. They did it. So, alrighty. He that soweth the good seed is the Son of Man. He has seed? But he's supernatural. He can't have a wife and kids. Unthinkable. Inconceivable. And so, yes, I might as well put that in since I put it on my note. The church is sinking in their own quicksand. That's the foundation they built for Mormons and the church. It's quicksand. It's not just sand, quicksand. So it's been slowly sinking over all these years. And there have been certain periods of time where the church has sunk deeper and they just lie to us and say, oh, nothing to see here, everything's fine. We're fine. We're doing just fine. The United States just canceled us. But I'm still the president of the church, even though the church said, no, you can't be. Everything's fine. Nothing to see here. Move along. Pay your tithing. Get us out of debt. We'll have BYU do a video saying that it was all about the windows of heaven instead. That you guys are the wicked ones. Yeah, that's it. You guys are wicked. And so the parable in section 101. Yeah, let's end with that. Because this is what my hope is. If this does not happen, I'm a dead man. If Joseph Smith is not a prophet, and he uses a parable, I'm a dead man. And this is the time. Jupiter is at the thigh. That's the fulfillment of prophecy that I've been going over with you for Old Testament lessons. I show unto you a parable that you may know concerning my will regarding the redemption of Zion. And so here we go. They betrayed them as Judas, money given to the exchangers, and they became slothful. They weren't listening to Jesus. See, the prophets are listening to Jesus, aren't they? What are the consequences of listening to Jesus? The bigot, the racist, the sexist. I am Jesus, the bigot. In the olden days, you had names of people were given titles. And so, Brave Sir Robin, who ran away. Olaf the Brave. A nice Russian name. But the enemy came by night in verse 51. Broke down the hedge. The hedge laws of the church? The For Strength of the Youth pamphlet? You're free! And the servants of the nobleman arose and were affrighted. Yeah, I found the thing on Brigham Young's talking about clothing. Found that. And fled, and the enemy destroyed their works. Broke down the olive trees. So the servants are us, right? We flee because we're afraid. And the olive trees are the 12 apostles. We are not the 12 tribes of Israel. The prophets are the 12 apostles. Right? That's how it's supposed to be interpreted. That's how the church set it up in the manual for you. You guys are to blame if the church is destroyed. And so, yep, oh, look at that. There's one mighty and strong, the man like Moses, who appears. You don't care. Oh, what? Joseph is now talking about him being the guy? Huh. Interesting. That's strange. So he was the cornerstone that Mormons rejected, and there's going to be a Mormon in the future who will be the capstone of the Great and Abominable Church. From out of the Great and Abominable Church. Alrighty, we're done. So far today, YouTube is behaving for the other video I posted this morning. So I'll still see if they're still behaving. But yeah, it's a threat. They're threatening me again, and they follow the same pattern. And so if nothing happens and I still have my internet, they will shut this down as well, this channel. They will just pick a video and say, nope, screw you, Travis. We're banning it. We're lying about why we're banning it. And oh, oops, we have to keep you from posting videos for months to destroy you. Like they did Travis Wayne Goodsell. Yep, the video that they didn't like or used as their example was the false Christ of the Great and Abominable Church. I see it. I see the mysteries, guys. I'm trying to help you understand, see the mysteries. Not get trapped in the parables, because that's as far as your knowledge goes. I'm trying to trust you. And so you understand now, right? Right? Please tell me yes. I do not want to be Moroni or Ether. Again, I spoke in parable to you. If you don't understand, what was the fate of Ether and Moroni? That is the same. They witnessed the entire destruction of their people. If I have to explain it, it's no longer a parable.